Hey guys, I got to share something I've never told anyone before. But guess what? You're not alone in this. That's the real deal.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Real Room podcast with me, your host Ross, and my other host here, Jessa. And we have a guest today as well. So, guest speaker, please introduce yourself.
I'm Mary Jean Thompson. I'm known as MJ. Hi, everybody.
Thank you very much. So, Jessa, you have obviously got in contact with MJ and brought her on. So, I'll let you, go into the story and why she's come on.
Myself and MJ have known each other since I was really, really young. I was really good friends with MJ's children, Simon, Neil, and Liam. Shall I do it in order? Liam, Neil, Simon. And I used to work for MJ at the karaoke bar when I was very young. Lived a life, and unfortunately during that time when I was around and MJ had the pub, there were some really significant changes in MJ's life. Where both sons had lost their lives, two totally separate reasons, and this is the main reason why we've brought MJ on. She's an inspiration. She wants to help others, connect to others, cause for awareness as well, because I feel that the system is failing. This is something what MJ is really passionate about. So I'm gonna give it over to you. So where does it all begin? Because I was roughly 14. I think Simon was around the same age, 14, 15, weren't he?
He was born in 86.
Yeah, so I'm 87, so yeah, so that'd be right.
Yeah, so, well, just a normal housewife with children and struggling to make amends. So I decided to do some karaoke's on the evenings, working for a guy, and really enjoyed it and got paid for it, so that was great. And then one night, with one of the pubs that we worked in, the landlady asked me to stay by and wanted to chat with me. And she said, "I want you to do the karaoke here. I'm getting rid of Bob." And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yeah." She said, "He's very inconsistent. He doesn't bring this, he doesn't do that, he turns up late." So I said, "Well, I can't afford a karaoke." I said, "We're barely scrapping together, to keep 3 children, 2 dogs, and I'm just doing it to get some, spare money." And she said, "Well, the offer's there, 3 venues a week. Have a think about it." So off I went with my head in a spin, thinking, "Oh my God." And I've always been ambitious. I've always wanted to thrive and always got something in my head to think about how I can make some money. So I went home, couldn't sleep, and my husband used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I got up, and I think he said to me, "You shit the bed." I said, "No." I said, "I've got something on my mind." And he said, "Well, I can't talk now." And I said, "Oh, please." Am I not allowed to swear?
No, you're allowed to swear. This is the real room. You can say whatever you like.
So we talked about it, and he was, and he was always negative, and I was always positive. So anyway, it went ahead, and we bought it, borrowed the money off his mum. And I started off with just 40 discs, but they were the small ones, whereas he had the LP size, and they used to take about 5 minutes to load. Well, when people want to sing, they want to get on, so I could pack in more people because mine was instant.
Yeah.
And basically there was 2 guys. There was the kid. Well, I'd rather not mention their names. There were 2 other karaoke's in town and around about. And within a year, they were non-existent. So I was doing, within a year, I was doing 14 venues a week. I bought another rig and put staff on it, i.e. And did that for 5-6 years. But then I got fed up of moving about and setting up. It's not like today when you just get the computer out, get your songs on there, and the speakers are all in the pub. If you don't, you can use theirs or use your own, and that's it, your amplifier, and that's it. We had big boxes. When we first started, we had the big box tellies, you know, and they were heavy. And so, yeah, and then I decided to knock it on the head and buy a pub. Well, rent a pub. So, because one had come available quite cheap. So MJ's off again on a mission. My poor husband, you know, he was always worrying. And so I got the pub, made it into a karaoke bar. We did a bit of a refurb.
It was the first in the town, actually, wasn't it? The first karaoke bar in the town.
Yeah, it was the first karaoke bar. But it was very spit and sawdust. So we had a lot of different people, shall I say.
Different people would be, yeah, eloquently put.
So the thing is, in a town, you can't have just an ordinary pub because you get the drinkers, you know, and if you're not doing food, you need the drinkers.
Yeah.
And with drink comes trouble. And of course the drugs, which were quite rife. Shoplifters, they would come in regularly. You could get some real good bargains off them.
Everybody loves a Yankee Candle or a joint of meat, say less.
And so the police were on my case, basically. And eventually they put 2 undercover police officers in the premises. And I did have my suspicions. It was a woman and a man. And they came in with some Easter eggs for sale, knowing that they would sell because they were selling them for £1. And they were like the big Cadbury's ones, you know.
Oh, £10 bangers.
And the box was slightly, you know. I said, well, how come you've got these? Well, we work for this company and blah de blah. But anyway, they got in, and he didn't come in that often, but she did. Claimed that she was went to a rescue. You know, she had twins, and great story. Mingled in with them, and eventually they caught them. But you know, as a landlady or landlord, you're there to sell beer and make people happy. I'm not a detective. I can't say to people as they're coming in the door, where's your receipt for your shopping, you know.
No, it's not your place to. It's just one of them standard requirements.
They ran after a shoplifter that came in running in, and he threw the bag underneath the chair where one of the women was sitting. She knew what was going on, so she shoved it with her feet. He went in the toilets, and of course they came in, and he got nothing. Disappeared into thin air. So they're going out the back thinking he's chucked it through the window and all this. He was a well-known shoplifter in town. And he came up to me and he said, you do realise it costs £500 a day. I said, why are you telling me? I said, I'm not in charge of people coming in and out with stolen goods. I don't know who's coming in and who's selling. You know, they don't do it in front of me. And so it was, you know, it's the same as the sergeant said to me one day. There's a very fine line between serving somebody drunk. And I said, I don't serve anybody that's drunk. I serve people that are merry. If they can't stand up, obviously I don't serve them. And I said, but you know, if that's the case, then you best shut the nightclubs down, hadn't you?
Yeah, exactly that.
and he didn't know what to say.
And just to pitch it there was a lot of trouble also up in the town.
Yeah, it wasn't with mine.
No, it wasn't just yours. I think drink, drugs, the party life very much dominated the town. It wasn't the worst place to go, but it wasn't the safest place to go either. And I think that everything was very obvious and apparent what was going on. And for me, I think that the police took a very relaxed approach. If anything, they could have done more.
Well, I mean, they busted me one night and they didn't find anything. But I said to them, these people that drink in here drink all over the town.
Yeah.
They're not just drinking in my pub.
Bearing in mind Wetherspoons was opposite.
Yeah, and the Irish club next door,
Yeah.
the Squirrel.
Yeah.
You know, they drank all over the town, not just my place. I mean, I'm making it sound like it was the High Chaparral. We didn't have tables and chairs in. Or maybe on the odd occasion.
We did. We bloody did.
Oh.
And Paul Hughes it was like a Western, fucking hell. And I was only young then as well. Like when I think that, God, what a life to see. But great depth and insight of where you.
Well, if you ask anybody in town, they say it was the greatest place ever.
Yeah, because it created memories.
And I went into the Holly Bush not long ago, and the barmaid was like in shock when I went to the bar, and she went, MJ. And I was like, yeah. Oh my God. And she come running from behind the bar, gave me a great big hug, and said those were the best days ever of my life in your place.
MJ used to treat everybody, especially on the weekends at a certain time of night. Myself and MJ, I'd help her in the ladies' bathroom. We didn't have no green room. It wasn't that kind of abode. But MJ would dress up as Tina Turner, and the Tina Turner act has always been a living memory in this town,
And still is.
and still is.
I went, talking of shoplifters, we went into the Squirrel, me and my friend. And on a Monday, we used to go out on the piss. And all the landlords were out as well. So we used to have a right laugh and follow them around the town because they'd buy us a drink as well. And we were crafty like that. So we were in the Squirrel and this shoplifter came in. And she said, do you want to buy any of these? She'd got dresses and stuff, you know. And I started doing Tina Turner with just the wig. So I went out and I said, what you got? And she got this really short navy dress. And it had got splits, I think, up the side. And it was up here. And I said, I'll have that. I said, I'll try it on. So I tried it on and it came out and all the landlords were tutuing me, you know. And he said, this will be perfect for Tina Turner.
Yeah.
So on the Monday night, I didn't even tell my husband. On the Monday night, which was the pub that I actually took over, I went into the toilets and got dressed up and put this dress on. And I came out, you know. I call you when I need you, and my heart's on fire. Dun, 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 dun. And then look, and it was packed.
Ram.
So I get on this table, and I'm giving it large, you know, because you know what? When you put a costume on, you become that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. You actually feel like you are her. And I was belting it out, and it's absolutely amazing.
You get the song.
Because people like acts, you know, they like my karaoke wasn't just a karaoke. I had all these young girls working for me. Then it was called MJ's Temptations, and the Temptations were supposed to be the songs, but they ended up being the girls. I must have had about 10 of you, didn't I, working for me? We used to have such fun. And, you know, like Christmas, they'd have to dress up. And Halloween, I'd make them dress up. Do you remember Wig Wham Bam?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I do.
And I had the wigs. And so, of course, people talk. So they're saying, oh my God, last night, you know, in the Labour Club.
They'd want to see what's
So
next.
for the next week, it was even busier.
Mm.
And so this became a thing at the end of the night. And of course, it was good because it was simply the best. And I used to say to everybody in here, simply the best, you know, when you have that break. And don't forget MJ's Temptations this time next week and all that, you know. And I just packed the pubs. I used to do Yates's in Leamington. I used to do Coventry. I used to do Cubbington. And in all of them, I did Tina Turner. And in Yates's in Leamington, it was absolutely heaving. They got bouncers on the door in the end. It was on a Wednesday night, but they didn't need them. There was no trouble in there. It was really weird, but it was just security. But last orders used to be at 11, and you had 20 minutes drinking up time. And literally, that 20 minutes, the whole pub was cleared. But it was on a Wednesday night. Again, somebody else was doing it, and he came to see me in the Cubbington. And he watched me. And at the end of the night, he said, can I have a word? He said, I want you to come and do Yates's. And it was dead. And it took me probably 2 months before it was heaving because of word of mouth, you know.
Yeah.
And because it's a Wednesday, it's dead on a Wednesday in pubs. So it's somewhere to go. And when you've got a crowd, people want to be there. You know, it's like a banking town now.
Yeah.
The place is a ghost town, but there'll be that one place or a couple of places where things are going on and being entertained, you know. So I used to do share as well.
Yeah.
And at Christmas, the girls that I know, because they heard the stories, you know, oh, MJ, will you do Tina Turner on Christmas night on the party? I said, yeah, funnily enough, I've still got the wig and one of my dresses. And I can still get back in it. It might be a little bit shorter, but they all wear them up their arse now anyway, don't they? So bugger it. So off I went, and I did it on the party at Christmas in our local pub in Coventry, which is in Camden, and they loved it. So I've just been and gone a wig for doing share as well now, and an outfit for my next mission. The only thing is I don't get on the tables anymore.
No, nor do I actually.
Not after my accident. I had a really bad accident 4 years ago. That was terrible.
Right, so you've made yourself an empire. You're very well known throughout the whole town and clearly all over Warwickshire. And everything was going really well and successful. And you had watchful eye of the police, and we keep mentioning about these shoplifters. And I know that this all has relevance. We're building the story. And so we're going to keep moving forward to find the shoplifters, the pub, the police. Everything was going really well. So what happened?
So in August, no, June.
Were the kids living in the pub at the time?
No.
They were home.
Well, I split up from my ex. It was a big mistake buying the pub, to be fair. I know that now, but hindsight is a good thing, isn't it? And we drifted apart because he didn't really want anything to do with it because he wasn't that sort. He wasn't an extrovert. He was more introvert than me. And we split up. And the boys stayed at the house and I lived in the pub. And then in June, he got stabbed by his best friend.
When we're saying he, just
Neil.
just for the
Neil,
listeners, it's Neil, which is your middle son.
Sorry, yeah, my middle son Neil, he got stabbed with a 10-inch bread knife. And the knife went in here and it wrenched right through his body up to his heart and just missed it by centimetres. So it went through his bowel, his liver, and whatever, stomach, And but not only that, he pulled it out. So of course the bread knife is serrated.
Yeah.
And he staggered up the road, and his girlfriend was waiting in the car. He'd gone to see this friend about something, and I don't know what. And my other eldest son was there as well. And he actually tried to stab my eldest son first with a skewer, and in the side again. And Neil intervened and got the knife. And he staggered up the road and then collapsed. But there was no blood, so they didn't really know what had happened. And he said, "I think I've been stabbed," because it was so fast. And so anyway, they took him to hospital, and he survived for 5 weeks. They fought and fought and fought to try and save his life. But unfortunately, the bowel wouldn't stop leaking, and in the end, he died of septicemia at the age of 20. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Big rest.
I carried on in the pub because obviously I had to. Drank a lot, trying to forget. We went to the hospital. She rang me in the morning and she said, Neil is going to die today, so can you just get everybody together? And I said, yes.
I remember that day.
But before that, actually, Neil, when he had one of his operations at the beginning, he asked the nurse if I could go and see him. He was in intensive care. And that's when he could talk. And she rang me up and she said, Neil wants to see you. I know you're in rugby, she said, so, but it's okay, it's not going down till 1 o'clock. This was 9 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, well, I'll get a few jobs done and I'll go. What I should have done was just gone. And I don't know for this day why I didn't. But I suppose when you're running a pub, you know, it was wages day and all that sort of thing. So I thought, well, I'll get that out of the way and I'll go. And I got there but near to 12:30.
You were probably also in shock and just trying to process for the fact that your baby's in hospital. So you need to give yourself credit there. Not only have you got a business to run, you also have 2 other children at home. You have a husband who you're not really in good communication with. Like,
No,
really, like
we were.
You were in good communication at the time, right? Okay, my apologies. But just setting the scene, you had a lot going on, and for whatever reason, and I can really hear it in your voice that there was a significant amount of regret from making that choice.
Because when I got there, they'd taken him down and I missed him. And I just kept thinking, you know, he was waiting for his mum and she didn't turn up. And he couldn't tell me what he wanted to tell me. Because he never woke up again. But anyway, he died. And so I carried on running the pub. Well, on the day that he died, I went straight back behind the bar. And everybody was like really in shock. What is she doing? I just couldn't go upstairs. I thought all I'm going to do is just crying. I just needed to get it out. I couldn't think about it. So that's why I did it.
But people grieve in different ways, you see, because like, you know, obviously if you're gonna sit there and like, you know, stew on it, sometimes it can make it worse, you know, and I suppose your like determination to keep the pub alive was, you know, probably in remembrance of your son. You know, I'm going to do this for my son. I want to do it for my son. Do you know what I mean? So there's that sort of like outlook on it all as well. Do you know what I mean? It's not being selfish at all. You know, like I said, obviously people handle grief in different ways. You know, some people it hits them home quicker than other people, and it might have taken you a bit longer to be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And So
Yeah,
I can understand why you did what you did. You know what I mean? It's not selfish, and people, if people are thinking that you are selfish, I think they're wrong to say that, because you know it's how people deal with things. We're all human at the end of the day. People deal with things differently.
yeah. But I have to say,
Was there any support, MJ, from
well, I
you
was just going to say this.
losing Neil?
I cannot thank all those people that came in my pub. They were amazing. They supported me so much and got me, well, not got me through, but helped me so much. And they were so loyal. And it was hard for them because they knew him, you know.
It was really quite a family sort of
The whole place was, you know, all the locals that come in. Obviously, you've got your strays. But all the locals that come in, they were absolutely amazing. And the staff.
That the young ones playing pool.
Yeah.
So can I ask you as well, this so-called friend that did this to your son,
Yeah.
what happened to him? Did he get arrested or anything, or was he just
He went on the run.
did it?
Yeah, he went on the run and
Was he ever caught or anything, or never?
oh yeah. He handed himself in on the day that Neil died. And I think his parents must have just said to him, you know, you can't run away from this. You're gonna have to face it. And his mum did come to me when we went to the first court hearing, and she apologized. Well, you know, yeah, she apologized, and I just said to her, "You're all right. You've still got your son, but I haven't got mine." But really, she didn't have him really because
You both lost a child.
yeah, we when you think afterwards in hindsight, she was suffering as well. You know, she was in shock. Anybody would be in shock if they knew what your son had done.
Mm.
But he was high on cocaine and drunk. He'd been causing a ruckus in one of the bars, and she actually was coming to the court to tell them that she was going to call the police because he was so aggressive.
Yeah.
And of course, my son, or sons, I should say, went round at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Simple as that, just simple as that, because I know this boy from a toddler.
Wow.
And he was a lovely boy, and grown man. And I do believe that the drugs and the drink were part of it, because I don't think he would ever have done that in a normal state of mind. I really don't. And no, I don't forgive him. I can't. So,
I mean, it would be hard to forgive someone who's done, you know, a big damage like that, and obviously it's a great loss in your life as well. And not only that, it affects everyone at the end of the day. It affects you, it affects, you know, your other sons, your
Well, it
husband.
affected everybody. It affected the whole town. Neil was
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously if your pub was that well known, and the boys were that well known as well, especially Neil, you know what I mean? So
I mean,
sort of has that domino effect on people though, doesn't it?
it was quite raw though as well, because his brother was Neil's best friend.
Yeah.
So his brother has gone through hell as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we speak, and every time I see him, I say, I'm not going to mention anything. And he'll go, no, it's all right, MJ. And obviously, I've asked questions of where he is now. He got 14 years.
Yeah.
Minimum, life minimum. I don't know why they call it life.
It's not really life.
Life is all different. They give so and so life for 20 or whatever. Anyway, he got 14 years. The judge said, and you will do 14 years. And then a year later, the press rang me up and said to me, how do you feel about, I was just going to say his name, I thought, better not say that. How do you feel about Neil's, what do you call it? Neil's.
He was murdered.
Yeah.
He was murdered.
Well, he got manslaughter. I worked that one out. You come out bearing weapons and it's manslaughter. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I won't agree with that.
I also don't agree with that.
And your intent. Yes, I believe that he wouldn't have done it if he was sober and not full of drugs, but he still intended to do it and did it.
Yeah.
And
he ran from it as well.
And he ran away, yeah. And he's somewhere, he can't come back to rugby, but he's somewhere else, obviously.
So is he out now?
Oh, yeah, he's been out a lot. He got 2 years reduced. I don't know why.
Good behaviour in prison, I guess.
But that when the judge said, why have a judge then? If a judge
Yeah.
said he's going to do it, then that should be it. What appealing? Why are you appealing? What have you done to deserve to get 2 years off?
Mm.
So then he's out. According to his brother, he's not good, and I don't suppose he is, because he is full of remorse and pain.
Yeah.
How old was the chappie who took Neil's life?
He was a year older than Liam, so Liam was 22. He was 23.
23. So really, two very, very young people. And I think that we're even seeing it nowadays, that they're becoming even younger, taking lives. And I'm sure,
Oh gosh,
I'm sure the listeners who are going to listen to this podcast is going to feel the deepest sympathy and the real connection to the justice system. And I totally concur when you're saying, what's the point of having a judge make these judgments and decisions in the best welfare of the public to then only go back on what they're saying? It's not credible. I just don't think things are credible anymore. And it's such a sad loss. And I'm so sorry what you've experienced with the system. And it hasn't stopped from there, has it, MJ? Because the system has continued to inflict pain on your life, and we'll start to move it forward with Liam. So we've got Liam and Simon and yourself and your ex-husband. So you're all dealing with grief. You have the support of the town. We talked about the judgment which happened. Talked about how you're managing to process talking to other family members, which was Neil's best friend.
My first husband when I was 21 in a tragic accident as well. My dad committed suicide.
God, that's a significant amount.
No, but I wasn't very close to my dad, so I'm not going to say it didn't matter. That's a terrible thing to say, and that wouldn't be right to say online, because I think I was really heartless. But my father didn't love me, and it was a shame.
Maybe this is why we process grief in a different way.
It was.
Oh, because you're a child which were born in a pub.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the Bulling Rugby.
But people shouldn't have children in a pub. It's not fair, because you don't have a family life. And I used to see that when I used to go to my friends and think, God, I wish my family was like this. We were shut upstairs and that was it. We had all we had was our toys. We didn't even have a telly.
So is this why you felt like you were doing right, keeping the boys at home?
And letting all their friends in.
Yeah.
My house was like Paddington Station. There'd be 3 in and 3 out, and in, out, in, out. But I always said that I was going to let them have their friends in, because I couldn't have friends in mine.
Yeah.
And it was a very lonely life. My brother used to beat me up all the time. I think that was just frustration. I think, to be honest, I think he's got ADHD, but that wasn't verified then. You know, it wasn't diagnosed then.
Rebel's keeping me company.
Oh, you're not barking at me anymore.
No, Rebel doesn't bark.
Am I all right now? Mm. Yeah, so it's been a shit life, really. But you know what? I pull myself together, get on with it, but my retirement's hard. Because like I said to you, I always throw myself into something and I'm doing something. And this is good, actually, coming out and doing this, because it's getting it off my chest, which I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book, and then I thought, no. I mean, it would make a bloody good film.
I know a few filmmakers, so if you are watching, when we post it out to you, get in touch with myself or MJ.
You know, I went to see Beautiful Boy. My friend said, come on, we'll go to the picture. She got tickets. And when we went to sit down, she said, oh, I never thought, she said, let's go and watch something else. It's all about him, drugs and things. And I said, no, I'd like to watch it and see, you know, what it's about. And it was about this lad. It was American, I think, and he was addicted to crystal meth.
Mm.
And I think he was injecting, and he disappeared, and his father went looking for him. I have never seen such a boring film in my life. How it became a film, I don't know, because it wouldn't put anybody off drugs. My story would put people off drugs, I can tell you. Oh God, I've been through hell.
I think that most modern TV either glamorises these kind of acts, like I said, it's very much reflected in our daily life now, in the present time, that there doesn't seem to be any conviction, any true, real judgment or peace in anything what you've experienced or what other people are continuing to experience in modern day, which is really sad. They do glamorise it, MJ, and I do feel that even though there's so many different campaigns like Drop the Knife, you know, we're still seeing an absolute incline.
Well, the thing is, they're never going to stop knives, because you've got your kitchen knives. You can't, you know, what you're going to do, lock them up.
Okay, so what do you feel influences that
I don't know.
mindset?
I don't know what started all of this.
But it's not going to be from movies.
And it's
not
all these
portrayed
young
through-
children.
They are very young. Yeah.
There was stabbing in Rugby on Saturday night outside the pub.
Oh my God.
I don't know who it was and how old they were, but it's just crazy. And the problem is with knives, you've got no inclination. You know, if somebody's going to come at you with a fist, you know that you can duck or dive or whatever. But with a knife, it can come from nowhere and in you before you even know it. Like he said, he was walking down the road and he didn't know. He said, I think, and this is a 10-inch bread knife that went straight in. And he said, I think I've been stabbed.
I remember when I lived in Spain and I seen some Moroccan street people attack a tourist because they wouldn't talk to him. They were trying to rob him. And he went, I think I've been punched. They said, no, you've been stabbed. And I had witnessed that as well. And it doesn't bleed how it does in the films. And he just literally thought he would just be
It's all like eternal.
And then as soon as he started to see it, that's when the pain comes. And so we can talk later on about maybe what to do, how to prevent these things, but I would like you to continue with your story.
Right. So in the end, with all the trouble, and of course all the police knew me, they knew about my son. Liam was a heroin addict. And
when did you discover Liam was a heroin addict?
When I'd got the pub. And he was 21, I think, something like that. But it started before that. But I was very naive to drugs because I've never took drugs.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know the sign. He didn't show any signs of what he was doing. And of course, by that time, I'd got the pub, and he'd left home, and he'd got a girlfriend, and so he was living his life. And then she got pregnant, and so they moved in together. And
He also had no idea what was
she
going
didn't
on.
have any idea. No, he was going up in the attic if he did anything. And because I think she told me that she found tinfoil and stuff up there, you know.
Mm.
And anyway, one of the barmaids, she said to me, she came upstairs, knocked on the door, and she said, can I come up? I've got something to tell you. And she came in, and I said, what's the matter? What's up? What's the matter? And she said, I've told Liam I'm going to tell you because he won't tell you himself, she said. but he's a heroin addict. Well, you could have knocked me over. I was like, what? I could not believe it. I was beside myself, and he came running up the stairs, and he was crying his eyes out. He was. I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was taking it. Because they were going in with his groups, you know, and trying different things, and they gave him heroin without knowing it, and his
Yeah.
friend. And because of course it wasn't injecting, it was like chasing the dragon or whatever they call it, I don't know. And or is that crack?
No. No, you'd be right. Chasing the dragon is where they put it into foil and they make a foil straw and light and.
And so I didn't know all of this, and he begged me. He said, "Mum, please help me." He said, "I want to come off it. Please help me." So I said, "Of course I'll help you." I said, "But you'll stay with me 24/7, and I mean 24/7. If I go to the loo, you're standing outside it." And it was literally that. And he worked behind the bar with me. He slept upstairs with me, and he slept on the sofa bed. And actually, this was 2 weeks before Neil was stabbed. And that night, we were going out to some friends. Me and my new partner were going out for some drinks. But Liam, I said, he's coming with us. And they said, yeah, that's fine. And he knew that. I said, we're going out and you're coming with me. And then Neil came up the stairs and he said, we're going over to Mr. A's. We're only going to be half an hour. I want you coming over, Liam? And I said, no, he's not going anywhere. Oh, go on, Mum, let him come. Please let him come. And all this. And I said, no. And Liam said, I don't want to go. He said, he'll just be calling me a smackhead. And he didn't like smackheads. He didn't like heroin, even though he sold drugs.
Yeah.
And whether it was that, probably that they were going for. But then again, I didn't know why he wanted Liam to go. But maybe there was some conflict that had happened in a sale of drugs. I'm only using my suspicion of what went on, because I don't know. They won't tell me. But maybe there was a conflict about well, obviously there was a conflict about something. But Liam wouldn't tell me. He said, oh, he just called me a smackhead like I predicted. Maybe that was it. I don't know. And I'll never know.
The boys turned up to that property though, regardless, with no knives.
No, they didn't have weapons. They just had their fists.
Okay.
But he came out with weapons and killed my son. And then Liam would steal from me. Anything he could get, he would steal. And of course, when Neil died, that rocked him over again.
Yeah.
And it was like an explosion, and I hadn't got the strength to run the pub and look after him as well as with my grief. So he went off, I don't know where, I can't remember, and he was back on it. So in the October, Neil died in the August, in the October, I'd been on holiday to Turkey and I'd bought an apartment there. And so I just said to my partner at the time, who I was getting married to, let's just go, pack our bags and go. And I'll get rid of the pub.
Yeah.
And he said, well, of course, he was well happy. Yeah, we'll go to Turkey. So off we went. And
So
I left.
just you and your partner at the time?
Yeah. And I left. My youngest said to me, can I run the pub for you, Mum? And I said, are you selling it? Can I run it for you? And he was working behind the bar for me. And I said, well, it's not just about serving a pint, Simon. You've got to do all the account, bookkeeping and ordering and all the rest of it. Yeah, I'll be fine. So I said, okay then. Let him have it. I didn't care, to be honest. I just wanted to get away.
Yeah.
And so I gave him the keys and walked out the door. And at the time, Liam was in hospital with a very, very large, as big as half of my thumb, and coming up to a point, abscess in his groin. He was 6'2" and about 6 stone in weight, and he couldn't walk because he kept rubbing.
Yeah.
He'd been down the hospital 3 times at St Cross, and they kept saying pericodinal. So I said to him, I took him round to the pub, and I'm holding his arm and helping him to walk to the pub. And I said, I'm taking you to Walsgrave as soon as I've got the staff have come. Took him to Walsgrave. The consultant came out, and he showed it me. And he showed the consultant. He said, you'll be in theatre in half an hour. He said, that's about to burst, and it's poisonous. And so he went into hospital.
What was the abscess from?
Injecting.
Injecting heroin.
Yeah, injecting. They can't find a vein, you know, they used all their veins up.
Mm.
And they end up, oh, terrible. And so he was in hospital, and I was going on the Friday, and I think this was the Wednesday. So they cut him out and took it away, massive scar. And then he got clot in his leg. And I felt terrible because I was going to Turkey. But, you know, in my head, I couldn't take any more. I just couldn't. I had to go because I couldn't stop him doing what he was doing.
Well, that's it at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? You've
You
tried,
could really
you've tried so much to help him, and then obviously you lost your, you know, your middle son, and then that tipped him over to the edge. You know, you wanted to get a, you know, clean start, a clean break from everything, and, you know, going away with your new partner and everything. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? You've been through a great ordeal already, and, you know, what better way to, you know, start afresh? You know what I mean? Obviously, you're not forgetting anything, but it's a lot of memories that you don't want to be reliving. And if you've had the opportunity to go somewhere else, start afresh, you know, what's the problem in doing that?
My mum done exactly the same. Lost my nan, she lost the mum.
Yeah.
And she tried, and us girls fell out with my mum, and yeah, she moved to Cyprus and she didn't look back. She now regrets moving and realizing actually that was what grief can cause you to do. And sometimes that fresh start is definitely what you need. Others might not understand it at the time, and you might not understand it at the time. I know my mum definitely didn't understand it at the time. She just felt like she just needed, she couldn't have no more.
Yeah.
She completely lost herself.
Yeah, you
And
get
so
to that
I
point.
do fully understand where you're coming from there.
I was lucky that I got the apartment, but because it was just going to be for holidays and stuff. But anyway, we went, and I cried my eyes out when I left. But I said to him, I can't do any more for you. I mean, he even had one of his not girlfriend, yes, a girlfriend, not girlfriend, if you know.
A lady friend.
Yeah, lady friend. And she used to take heroin into the hospital when he was in hospital with gear, so that he could get it while he was in there, even though he was ill.
Talking on that subject, I've been around a friend of mine, a girl who I grew up with, actually, a family friend. She was addicted to heroin, and she had lost her mum, and she had lost her boyfriend, and she was using this as a form of grief. And she said to me, she goes, Jess, you don't understand. She went, when I take this, I'm with my mum. I'm with my love of my life. And I watched her do it one time, and literally she was talking to her mum. She was talking to her boyfriend like they were like literally over there. And my experience, that was my first ever experience of witnessing somebody on heroin. And you know, like she'd go, oh, can I borrow 20 quid? I need to get this for the dog. I need to get dog food, or I've got no gas and electric. And I thought, yeah, okay, well, she's not doing it. She's coming over to me. Everything's fine. But no, she was using that money, which I thought was helping her come away from these things, make life a little less stressful. When actually I was just help feeding her habits. And I've had that actually a couple of times in relationships as well, when I thought that was helping out, passing over money for bills, or if they needed food or whatnot, and then to find when I've gone to their house empty bags all over the place, and that was with cocaine. And so I know we're going all the way up to the top of the scale from like heroin, but I've had the same with cocaine. I've had the same with people who abuse drugs with weed as well. And so yeah, it's awful. And how do you actually help somebody when they're calling for you? You're there. You couldn't be any more present than you already are. But if they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway.
But it all starts with themselves, though. If you know the only way to help someone who's doing that, they must help themselves first. You know what I mean? It's all right asking for help, but they need to do it as well. You know what I mean? It's
Only you can do it.
yeah,
No matter what addiction it is, or whatever you want to do, there's only you that can do it.
exactly. You can give them all the tools. Do you know what I mean? But it's whether you take on them tools and go, right, I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to better myself. It's like the old saying. Do you know what I mean? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it.
That's
Do you know
right.
what I mean?
But also, if there's any young people watching this now, what I have to say to you is think twice. If anybody offers you anything and you've never done drugs, please do not take anything. Don't touch drugs. If you're intelligent enough, you'll know that it'll never do you any good. And if it's heroin, you're hooked. Line and single.
There's no such thing as just one time, is there? With that,
Liam knocked around with this lad, and I can't say that it was him that got him on it or whatever, but he was a heroin addict. I didn't know then, and he was only young then at the time. But later on in life, they were together on a night, and on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, the door knocked. And my partner said to me, "That's the police. I know the knock." Red flags, you know, but you still don't see them, do you? Anyway, I went to the door and there were two police officers in suits stood there. And they knew me, obviously, because of my situation. "Hi, MJ. I said, "What time do you call this?" I said, "You know that I'm working late." Yeah, we know, but we've got a John Doe down at the morgue and we don't know who it is. Is Liam around? Can you imagine? Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I don't know whether he's up there or not. I come this because I'd got two entrances in my house. And he'd go up the back, I'd come in the front, and I hadn't gone up to see if he was there because he's a grown man, you know. I'm not checking on him."
Yeah.
So of course I said, "Well, I'll go and have a look." Well, I was absolutely petrified. I went up those stairs, praying and praying, "Please God, please be there, please be there." And I got hold of the knob and I'm going, "Please be there." And I opened the door and he was there, and I thought, "Oh, thank God for that." And he was awake, and I said, "The police are downstairs, they want to see you." And he said, "Yeah, it's Lee Preston. He's dead." And he was with him, and he OD'd. And he just rang the ambulance and came home. He was petrified. I said, "Well, you've got to go downstairs." So he went down, and the police said, blood, you know, oh, shouldn't have said his name, should I?
We can bleep.
The police said to them, you know, Lee, he said this, "It's Lee Preston." And they arrested him for supplying drugs. And I started laughing. I said, "Supplying?" I said, "He's hardly got any money himself to buy them." I said, "He's nicking off me all the time." Anyway, they took him away, but they released him. And they were all, yeah, I rang them another time. I rang them myself because they were after him and he was upstairs. So I rang them. I said, he's upstairs. They called me everything from a to a on his way out.
But you were trying to save.
But I didn't. You know, the mother of Mr. A that killed my son knew where he was, and I said to the police, if you follow her, she will take you to him. They know where he is. But if she was a proper mother, she'd drag him down there by the scruff of his neck, because that's what I would have done. I wouldn't have covered for my son if he did something like that. I didn't cover them I brought them up properly to, you know, respect and be good. But drugs got in the way, unfortunately. And that's why I'm saying, anybody watching this, please, please don't go down that road, because it's a long, long road that you can't get off.
It doesn't just affect them, it affects
everybody.
everything.
It does. Everybody around you. You're always looking. You need eyes in the back of your head when you've got a heroin addict in the house. And it's an awful thing to say, but it's the truth. And I said to him one day, I said, how does this make you feel, you know, when you take it? And he said, well, you feel like you're wrapped in cotton wool and you're safe and warm and nobody can touch you. You go into another world. I said, oh, right. So I did say to people, if I knew that I was really ill, terminally ill, I'd like to have a shot of it just to see what it's like.
Well, that's fair.
Just to know what it's all about.
Okay, so you've gone over to Turkey. Liam is in the hospital with the abscess.
That's right, yeah. So Simon ran the pub down to 50 quid. So I had to come back in the January.
So when did you leave?
October,
and then to be back in January. So it wasn't all shits and giggles for.
I think it was a free loader, but anyway. So I came back and I thought, right, I've got to sell the pub, sell my house, and my car. And I came over for 2 weeks and I did the lot. And Liam came to me and he said, Mum, can I come back with you to Turkey? And I said, yeah. So he came out and he looked the best he'd ever looked in many, many years. I have to say Liam was, they all were, all three of them are very handsome. But Liam was 6'2" and he had gorgeous eyes and he could woo the women. And he was dark skinned, they're all olive skinned, they're not like me. So they tan quite easily. So he looked quite, you know, Turkish, if you like, ish. And he stayed for nearly a year, but he couldn't work because you can't work out there if you're not Turkish. You can work if you've got a business, but you have to have Turkish staff. And some people obviously do it behind back doors, but he didn't work. He was just in the pub with my ex all the time, getting drunk. So one addiction that you've got leads to another. If you can't have that one, you'll find something else. And I was paying for all this as well. So
I guess nothing was as accessible.
Oh no, he didn't.
In Turkey, no. So which could have been the absolute lifeline. What he could have taken, he unfortunately chose.
He did. I mean, he wasn't drunk all the time, but he was drinking alcohol because, obviously, I mean, he said, "I'll do cold turkey in Turkey." Well, we were only a few days there, and he said, "Mum, can you get me some diazepam?" And I said, "Sorry." What? He said, "I can't do this." He said, "I need something." He said, "I'm sweating and the shakes and everything." And I said, "Well, I can't get diazepam. How can I get it?" And he said, "Well, please, please," you know, he was in agony. So I went to the doctors and pretended it was for me.
Yeah.
and he gave me a prescription, and I went and got some. Now, stupidly, not thinking, because I don't, again, going back to the drugs, I don't know, I don't think how a drug person will think. He took the lot. He took 28 sleeping tablets.
Wow.
And then threw himself off the balcony. We were 3 floors up, and he was hanging off the balcony. And me and my husband dragged him back over the railings, crying. We were crying, we were that upset, and he was flat on the floor. And my husband had found the packet. He said he's taken all these tablets.
So it's an attempted suicide.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you can't take that many sleepers and then throw yourself off a banister. It sounds very much like.
Well, anyway, and then he was going around the house like a zombie, just falling off one wall to another, I suppose, because of the drug. But I mean, when I say normal people, anybody that doesn't take drugs, you'd be dead. You'd die.
Yeah.
In that amount of drugs. But he didn't. And for about 2 days, he was just out of it. And then, as I say, just with the alcohol. And then I took him back to England nearly a year later because I couldn't cope with it all. And I said, look, you've got to go home and get a job and get a life. You're off the drugs now. Go and get some work. And of course, then he said, it's not that easy, is it? When you haven't got anywhere to go. So you get back in with the same crowd. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So there's not many people that can come off it, but there have been some. We do have one of my girls, she was a heroin addict, and I didn't know that either. She was jacking up in the toilets while she was at work. And but she did come through, and she's now, she's got a little boy, and she became a lorry driver, and I'm really proud of her.
There's hope.
Well, yeah, there's always hope. You've just got to have it in there and the determination to do in here. Everything's in here.
Sometimes there's too much what's gone on. I feel there is a lack of help and a lack of support, which I feel really strongly about, whether it be grievance counselling. I don't think as human beings that we're taught how to grieve correctly.
I don't think there's a way to talk. Because
but it's not spoke of.
Like Ross said, everybody's different. But I mean, anyway, going back to Liam, he died in prison in the end. And I'd just come home for good. And he rang me. And he said, hi, Mum. I was at my ex's mother and father-in-law's. And he said, I'm in prison. And he gave me this bullshit story that why he was arrested and he was in prison. And he said, can I come to Doncaster? We've got to live in Doncaster at the time. And he said, I said, yes, of course you can. And he said, can I have some money? I said, no. He said, I'm coming out in a week and a half. Can I have some money? I said, no, I'm not giving you any money. But you can come to Doncaster and we'll take it from there. Anyway, he said, I'll ring you tomorrow morning. And the next morning I took the dog out and I'm walking along and I thought, oh shit, Liam was going to ring. So I ran home and I said to them, has Liam rung? And they said, no. And I said, oh, he's probably got no money. So I went off to work. And then that night at 7 o'clock, Starsky and Hutch came onto the drive and knocked the door, asked for me. And I knew straight away. And I said, please don't tell me what you're going to tell me. And They said, "Mother of Liam Smith," and I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We're really sorry to tell you, but Liam died of an overdose last night." And in prison, this is
Mm.
14 opiates, different opiates in his body. And then they gave him methadone on top of it. Could hardly walk, could hardly stand up, his cellmate said. And then he went to bed and died, had a massive heart attack and died in the prison cell. And
Wow.
that poor boy underneath woke up in the morning to a horrific scene. Yes, you could try and fight the government and say it's all wrong and all the rest of it. They shouldn't get drugs in prison. There's more drugs in prison than there is outside, and the prisoners are all in the prisons. What they need for these people is not prisons. They need rehabilitation places where they could be locked in, but they've got help on board to get them off the drugs, wean them off, get them back into the social life. And
any rehabilitation, what they're saying, when people come away from prisons, let alone who have been misusing drugs, are significantly let down again and again and again. We've got my friend coming on the podcast, my friend Jake, and he has lived such a cruel life. The system has been horrible to him. So what's your motivation behind the song and the reason for releasing it for Christmas? So, slop.
well, I just think that our country just doesn't do enough for their own, basically. We've got people on the streets, and we shouldn't have people on the streets. And my son was one of those people. And yes, they're begging for money. And yes, there are some that aren't, pretending to be, I suppose. And a lot of them are drug addicts. But drug addicts are ill.
Yeah.
The same as anybody that's got an addiction. It's an illness, and people need to understand that and help them. And rather than putting them in prison, which a lot of them are put in prison for shoplifting to support their habit, they put them in prison with all a load of other prisoners, and they just run riot. They get more drugs in prison than you do outside. And Liam had 14 different opiates in his body when he died. And that's a lot of tablets, all from different people in there. And you shouldn't be able to do that in prison.
How do you think he accessed them?
From the prisoners.
From the prisoners.
Yeah.
And so the prisoners are medicated different medications,
and they don't take them, and then they use it as currency.
Yeah. So question really is why are they using different types if it's the same? Obviously, it's the same as opiates. Maybe they're not very mindful of these circumstances, and maybe it is a cause for awareness. Actually, like if there's going to be one set of measures, it's still the volume of what he'd taken, sadly, which made him lose.
Well, they gave him his methadone on top of that, and it just caused a massive heart attack.
That's British, isn't it?
So he died in prison, and the poor lad that was underneath the bottom bunk woke up to a horrific scene, which he'll never forget. And he actually knew Liam, so that made it even worse. But so I decided that I wanted to bring out a Christmas song and support the homeless with some of the money that I may make, to try and help Prince Andrew's campaign against the homeless. So that was the main reason for it.
Do you not think the
Don't
justice
answer.
system has a bit to answer for as well, though?
Sorry?
I said, do you not think the justice system has a bit to answer for itself, though, as well, though? Because if you think about it, like, obviously, these people are putting, said people into the prison systems and everything, but they're not really asked about the actual system itself. People are smuggling drugs in, people are able to get anything in prison. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got a friend who's just recently come out of prison, and he was telling me all sorts of stories, like people taking ket and everything inside prison, and it's easy to get drugs in prison than it is outside the prison, and you can get your hands on so many things inside, and it's just like, well, you're supposed to be in there, you're supposed to be punished and everything, but yet apparently it's like a holiday camp for people.
Well,
They're meant to be rehabilitating people,
That's
getting
right.
ready into
that's what
the
they
public.
need.
And that is definitely what they're not doing, and it's definitely what needs to be done. I'm absolutely baffled that they don't do regular drug checks
Because they don't have time. They're understaffed. And I mean, I watched a programme a couple of weeks ago of this prison, and a lot of the officers that work in these prisons are in with them because they can't do anything else because of the fear. They have these higher up ones in there that are ruling the roost with the drugs, etc. And they're taking drugs in, or they get these drones dropping them off in the yard. And it's all very, very corrupt. And yes, I could have gone on and fought my case and gone to the government and all the rest of it. But do you know what? I didn't want to live the rest of my life fighting for Liam because he died there, because it won't change. And everybody else around you then suffers because that becomes the prominent thing. And rather than keeping it alive, all the pain and everybody else suffering around you, it's just not worth all the pain.
So what you're wishing to do is make change on the outside. You can't change prison, but you might be able to offer help or extend awareness. Yeah, which is totally credible to you.
You can't fight if it's all out of control. That's what it is, and they know it. The government know it, but they're advertising now on the television for prison officers. Who wants to work in that sort of environment with these people, that are violent?
What do you think about the early release is what Keir Starmer had just recently decided to do? Did you know that they're releasing people from prison? Obviously, the whole point is to get them rehabilitated into back into normal society. And you know that they're meant to be put on tag when they come out, and they just don't turn up for their tag appointments, so they're literally running riot. And they're doing whatever. And there's so many of them, they can't even lock them, get them and lock them down.
No,
it's absolute madness. But the biggest problem is people are suffering, mental health. The services are absolutely overrun. We've had many podcasts and with our own experiences as well. Not only my kids' experience, your experience, my experience, that the mental health system is completely failing. The system is failing. And so I think all we can do as people of the public, or if we have the opportunities to be influenced the people of the public, is to share the cause of concern and actually try and bring people together away from them environments. I think it's not about excluding people.
I mean, he was a self-harmer, and he was supposed to have 24-hour watch, and that was mandatory.
Was that by the judge?
Yeah, no, this is when he went into prison.
Oh, okay.
When he was registered, which they couldn't find the notes. They didn't realise that he should have been on 24-hour watch.
Yeah.
But the notes went missing somehow, and the judge said, but it is mandatory. In other words, it's got to be done. But it wasn't. And he died under their watch because they weren't watching him. And, these people that are on drugs, they get into them slowly, and then it gets worse. You know, the heroin addicts, they start with weed or whatever, and they don't really want to be heroin addicts. They wish they'd never done it. But to go to rehab, it's £3,000 to go to rehab. Then they haven't got the money.
It's like they rather incarcerate you
In prison.
before they put you in there, and then when you are incarcerated, there is literally no mental health support there,
No.
and they're not doing anything to prevent the drugs from being in there.
And they're still having to keep them. So for them to have rehab places would be better than putting them in prison, you know, because they're not getting the help that they need.
I know it's the same situation, but in the news about 2 weeks ago, a young girl, I think she was only 13, she was in the young mental health ward, and she was found hung. She killed herself, and she was under 24-hour watch as well. They're failing.
I saw that.
It's awful.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's awful, and they knew that she was extremely high risk.
They were messing about in the corridor, weren't they?
Yeah. And too many people are losing their lives. I think mental health is definitely.
Oh, it's the big thing, yeah.
I think it's the biggest killer, and it's the biggest thing since the pandemic, because the awareness of actually like what loneliness does to people, whether it's driving people to drink, whether it's driving people to drugs, whether it's incarcerating people because the credit crunch. We're really seeing such a big change in Britain's social system that literally the lines are so blurred, and there is nobody is safe from the impact of what that has on everybody else, because it affects everybody, I think.
It does.
And so,
But on the flip side as well, Jessie, do you not think that obviously because the population of people is that high and that vast now, you know, we don't have that many people in the mental health sector as well to, you know, to help us as well, because, you know, let's say to every 20,000 people, yeah, you know, we'll say half of them suffer with mental health, and let's say a quarter of that people out of the 20,000 are mental health professionals. Do you know what I mean? So therefore, we don't, you know, they're outnumbered as well by people who do suffer with mental health. So there's always that as a flip side as well. I understand where you're both coming from, but you know, there's not enough people in the mental health sector to help the people with mental health as well.
if we have 500 million to send over to Ukraine, we have 500 million to invest in training, advancing, like technologies are advancing, schools are still not advancing, the whole social system has not advanced for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's failing people. Like there needs to be new practices, and I think that it needs to start from much younger, and it's much before they end up coming into this position, because where these social systems thrive is in environments of people feeling disconnected, and it's a way to feel connected, to either belong. I know that my child has said to me, "Oh, Mum, I'm really struggling with my friends because all these kids want to do is smoke weed or drink in the park, and he doesn't want to do that." And so I'm just like, okay, so what do you want to do? So instead I bought an Xbox, but really and truly, like, how many kids, especially like my kid, has had a horrible time in life, and for the fact that she's so brave to say, actually, no, I don't want to do that, but then you've got other kids what do, and then it becomes a normal thing. A Friday night, we've all been there with like people down the pub. Friday night, get a packet, get a pint, and then it's another packet and get a pint. Saturday rolls into Sunday rolls into Monday. By Monday they haven't gone back home to their wives. By Monday that they haven't turned up for work and they've lost their job. By Monday that the shit's broken in their house. By Monday they don't have the money for the bills, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. And then it's always gone, "Oh, well, I'll get you this one, mate." Instead of saying, "No, don't do it," people go, "It's all right, it's on me this time, I'll buy you a pint, here, have a lime."
And then they're owing.
And then that owing. And so it's an awful
It's a
cycle.
very vicious circle.
So maybe a campaign would be really, really beneficial in saying this, but I'm sure that there's many, many, many thousands of people who are affected by this daily.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But we just don't see it in the news enough, which is unfortunate. But you know, if we've got veterans on our streets and we're not looking after people who had looked after us as a country and tried to protect us, this country is fucked. So
It is.
I'm really, really sorry for your losses of like both kids, but actually, what you're doing is great. Techno Granny, it's definitely going to create some traction. I think more to the point, not only are you noticeable here, but your story and how it should impact others is going to be really important. I know that you're saying about maybe writing a book. I think writing a book would be a great idea as well.
Yeah,
I think personally writing a book as well would be absolutely fantastic as well, because like obviously, you know, not a lot of people are on social media, you know. Um, like a lot of elderly people, they don't know how to work technology as well. And some younger people as well, you know, some people don't like to go on technology and watch social media because, you know, all the negative stuff that's happening on social media. So they'd rather have a book or something to read. And I think having that book out that you want to publish, I think you should go for it. Like you've gone for
It's
the
hard.
techno granny.
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start, really.
Blogging. To start blogging and journaling,
Oh,
little parts of your story. And you know, like there's always audio books and there's a lot of support out there. I'm sure, like if we've got anybody listening to the podcast, if you do know anything about writing books, please do get in touch with Mary Jane on her socials.
Jean.
Mary Jane, sorry, Mary. Sorry,
MJ.
MJ.
It's easier.
It is.
So
Yeah.
what made you get into the techno granny anyway? Like what's the background story behind it? Because I'm intrigued to know.
Well, because when I first wrote it the first year, I went to a producer I thought was a producer, paid quite a lot of money for them to put a tune to it. But when I came away, the tune wasn't quite like what I wanted it. It just didn't. It was too slow, boring, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, as I say, last year I thought with this AI, I didn't even know anything about AI. So I'm quite surprised myself actually with how far I got with it. And I kept putting it in and saying, right, do a country version, do a rap version, do this version, that version, classic. I've got about 15 different tunes to this song.
Yeah.
But the techno one, just I couldn't get it out of my head. And couldn't sleep. I was going to bed and it was in my head. And I thought, I really like that one, you know. And I thought, yeah, I'll take the words off and I'll sing it myself, the tune. It took the backing singers off, and by the time I was at this point, it was getting very near to having to release it. So I just slung it on with the AI voice just to see what you know, what feedback I'd get. And then, as I say, this guy came up and said he would redo it and see what we come up with. But I said I really want it in a really, really techno sound because people, like young ones, will dance to it and not even bother about the words.
I remember you saying actually that you were out, weren't you? And you asked
And I played
play
it,
it.
yeah, and they were all dancing. And I was going, that's my song. And they were going, really? And they were all dancing away, and it was really.
Were they really surprised that it was your song?
Yeah, they were going, oh wow, MJ, it's brilliant, you know.
So definitely something for everybody with the techno granny. What are you going to call yourself, MJ?
Granny G.
Granny G. Granny G, Techno Christmas. Techno Christmas. I love that.
Or
What's the
GG.
song called that you're currently working on that's going to be released?
Christmas Day is coming. And that way you can play it before Christmas. See, I'm clever.
See, I've had this song in my head all night. I've literally woke up with it as well.
It is a very catchy song. You know, my friends were like, when I was playing the other version, which is terrible, they were going, looking at me as if to say, I don't think so. It is catchy like this, you know, and I thought, oh, they don't like it, you know. Oh dear, I'm mad. But the next song I'm going to do is a rap, but I'm not going to do the rap. But Liam, when he was in prison, he wrote me a poem. And I thought, right, I'm going to try and tackle that. Find a, you know, the bit of singing before the rap.
Yeah.
Going to try and find some lines that I can do, and then get somebody to do the rap, and then in between. But that's next year.
That sounds amazing, actually. That's
I
really
think that'd be really good. That turning his poem into more something else.
There's a lad on my TikTok called Jack. He's only a young boy. I would say he's about 20, and he's got this really, really nice gruff voice. Do you know what I mean? And I think he could do it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Have you approached him?
No, not yet, because I want to write the song first.
Well, if you need somebody who can rap who's young, I've got a young Jake. He's going to be on the podcast, I think, next week. Is that right? Was it the week after?
Yeah.
We're doing it before? Yeah.
Well, we could try him, yeah.
We can, absolutely, because like I said, he's gone through the prison system himself. He's been let down. He's suffered with abuse and drug abuse for many years.
Well,
he's
look at James Arthur.
Yeah, it's true.
He was in a bed sit for nothing.
If we're going to go all the way down there, Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking like rags to riches, and he's still the most humble guy.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's the why we do music.
And it's not about the money, you know. A lot of these celebrities give their money away that people don't know about, you know.
I love your face on this. All your moves are brilliant.
They're not. I look alright.
You look like you're having fun, that you're just pure vibes. I love that. It's a woman with love in her heart, wanting to make other people smile and share your story. So thank you very much, MJ. You've been amazing. We will have to do some editing.
Yes,
But,
we will.
however, thank you very much, co-host Ross. I am Jessica.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ross.